Hello everyone, PBFB here for a new video today about strategies involving the new game mode, Mayhem. And before we go into the teams, I would like to first discuss about the cookies I feel are viable. If you would like, you can skip forward to the teams, the three teams that I'm using. Okay, these are the cookies I would recommend you consider using in your Mayhem teams. For our first tier, our must-use tier, I highly recommend having all of these cookies present in any of the three teams that you have. They are good for their leader skills, um, actual skills, etc. And there's a reason why they are all meta in our current arena season. Next are cookies in our strong tier. They are, they are still very good to use. It's just that they are more situational than the above tier cookies. So example, you want to use Blueberry only with Stormbringer and make use of the electric side treasure. Crimson Coral, if you use her, you are limited to only having one front line. Bunchies, Rebel, Seafaring, usually only present in scam teams, etc. Actually, for Parfait, I think that she is weaker than Star Coral and I would not really use her personally. But I think that as a healer, she is still worthy of consideration. Next will be our niche tier. So these cookies only have one sole purpose. Caviar in Scam, Creme Brulee in Attack Speed, Dark Choco in 4 tank setups, Rockstar in Anti-Scam, Strawberry Crepe in Stunlock teams, and T-Knight in our original Scam comps. Next will be our replacement tier, which will have cookies only used to replace the cookies in the top 2 tiers if you don't already have them built up. So Hete can be a replacement tank for maybe Coral or Financier. Cream Puff, Peach Blossom, and Peppermint can be replacement healers. Fettuccine is a good replacement for Elder Fairy. Sherbet is a good DPS. But for this tier, you need to understand that they are only viable in like very specific situations, and you have to avoid fighting certain enemies. So, for example, Sherbet, you want to avoid fighting comms with Financier inside, and you would ideally like to pair him with Frost Queen. For Sorbet Shark, he's a good DPS, but he really only shines if the enemy is heavily skewed towards having more tanks. So lastly, for our potential tier, I would say just try to avoid them as well because it is very difficult to make them work. I think there are a few exceptions like maybe Milky Way, as she has some buffs in Mayhem and her magic candy may be coming out soon. What's this cookie's name? I forgot her name, but she also provides good buffs in case you just need a slot to fill up your team. It will make the rest of your 4 cookies stronger with higher attack, HP, and defense, your base stats. Donut can be used in scam comms. Tiger Lily can be used as a White Lily replacement. And yeah, the last tier is basically everything else. Just avoid them. I don't think they are good at all in PvP modes. I put Vampire here as I think he is buffed in Mayhem mode, but I still think he doesn't work. Twizzly has a lot of hype from her outstanding performance in guild battles, but in PvP, nah, not worth it. Yeah. Okay, so now that we know what cookies are viable for the new game mode, firstly, I would like to say that for the free-to-play or newer players whose resources are spread thin, I highly recommend using 1 weak team and 2 meta teams. So you'll put your weak team as team 1 to review as little information as possible and use your 2 meta teams to hit favorable matchups and win 2 out of 3 battles. For those with better biscuits, toppings, promotions, but are lazier, I recommend building your teams in a way that is set up like meta team, scam team, and anti-scam team. So the meta team loses to the scam team, which loses to the anti-scam team, which loses to the meta team. And I believe this works because most people in Dark Cacao server specifically are running something similar. Alternatively, you can set up 3 strong teams, and if you are sweatier, you can maybe switch around the cookies to make certain teams stronger, or just clear your teams and create comms specifically to counter particular people in your ranking range. For myself, I choose to go for 3 strong teams, and after testing extensively, I decided to run these 3 comps as I feel they best maximize treasures, cookies, and leader skills. So here it is. For the first comp I'd like to share, it is very similar to the try DPS comp I made in my video previously. This is what I use versus any scam team. So if I see Rebel, Seaferry, Burnt Cheese, and other scam cookies, I will match up with this team. The most important thing to note is having a 2-second Mystic Flower into a 3-second Dark Cacao. Second is my Burst comp, which could be considered a scam, as one rotation may destroy enemies straight up. The way to run it is 2 seconds Seaferry into 3 seconds Frost Queen into 3 seconds Ferret, and afterwards Stormbringer gives us the potential to one-shot. The Monaco is here to cleanse any stray 2-second Seaferry or White Lily stuns, and with Financier, Stormbringer, Ferret, and Monaco healing, sometimes you can outlast Wildberry teams. Our last team will aim to survive, and hence the treasures. Usually I'll match up the first 2 teams and let this team fight whatever is remaining. It can still hold its own weight, and from my experience, it has also won against the Dark Cacao, Mystic Flower meta teams. So I spent yesterday doing a lot of testing and dropping trophies, but I climbed back to rank 1 easily with this setup, as I'll feature in the battles later. Also, a good thing about having set up the teams this way is that if you make a mistake and don't make use of favorable matchups, I will get into what to hit and what to avoid later. These teams are strong enough to be able to still give you a chance to come out on top. So why these particular cookies? Other than the restrictions of having 3 legendaries, firstly, I set them up this way because of the leader skills. So as I said, this is my so-called anti-scam team. Having Dark Cacao's leader skill will give us more survivability. This is my burst team. Having Frost Queen's leader skill will give us more damage output. And for team 3, it is also for just to give it a leader skill, and not only that, Black Pearl's skill itself reduces enemy attacks and healing to help with the team's survival. And that's why you also cannot simply swap Frost Queen and Black Pearl in teams 2 and 3 on a normal basis. Frost Queen needs to be in this team to utilize her skill damage more. Next, for the treasures, Golden Cheese is always better with Feather and Vow, such that the Vow can proc more, which also helps us against scam comps as it reduces reduces enemies' attack. The clock is here for faster scale rotations. You could make the argument to swap to the common clock with this team, but in my experience it doesn't really matter. For this team, Stormbringer is always better with the whistle for the crit to activate his skill, and the epic scroll with whistle combination gives us the highest possible damage output. The Monaco is here as explained earlier, and the clock is not really needed here as there is already one-shot potential, or basically the first skill rotation already clears most of the enemy team or renders them like half dead lah. Lastly, for this team, I use the rare scroll for the defense, clock for skill rotation, and the necklace for more DMR. Okay, the next point to touch on is why these cookies in particular. For our first team, starting with 2-second Mystic Flower is core to stopping scam teams. We will prioritize using this team against scams, or basically the enemy teams with the highest burst output. The leader skill ETC gives us more survivability, and this try DPS set is pretty much almost similar in my previous video. So the reasonings as to why Stardust needs more damage resist than the others, etc. Same explanation. The only difference is Moonlight is here over White Lily because we don't really need White Lily's damage output in this team, and Moonlight is also nicely buffed up in this game mode. Here, basically more CC and more stats lah. There's also one other thing that Moonlight has over White Lily, which is that when she casts, she has the ability to dodge skills, which further helps the team's survivability. And okay, one other point is that you can combo sleep with Stardust. Next, for this team, when you start the rotation with a 2-second Sea Fairy into 3-second Frost Queen, it will CC the enemy team enough for Ferret to cast and hide so that he doesn't die. Then the damage from Stormbringer can clean up after. So following this logic, we would like to avoid Mystic Flower, as 2 seconds Mystic Flower in teams are the most common in the game mode, and we will try to fight teams that are not Scam or MF, MF being Mystic Flower. And as explained earlier, Financier helps the team to hold its weight against more durable comms such as Wildberry. And why Frost Queen here over Black Pearl, as mentioned earlier, her damage here is more appreciated, and her skill also gives us instant CC over Black Pearl, which takes some time to suck the enemies in. This creates a mini stun lock effect when chained with Sea Fairy. Lastly, for our team 3, this is our weakest team and is usually used as the throwaway team. We will fight the last team not paired against the other two teams, which is usually the enemy's Mystic Flower team. Also, side note, you can set this as your team 1 to reveal the least information to your competitors and cause them to lose trophies when they hit you. Also, alternatively, you can opt to run Wildberry and Elder Fairy over Coral and Coral. Yeah. But basically, because I don't have a good Wildberry biscuit, that being full damage resist bypass, I opted to use Crimson Coral instead. So the edge of using Wildberry is that you're able to use 2-second White Lily for better flow. But the trade-off from this team is that you have less damage from White Lily and you have one less healer to try to survive longer. Also, Coral is fixed at a 2-second start. So yeah, we have to let her start the rotation and have no other 2-second cookies. So all these cookies are better for that. The Snapdragon also gives us risk-free healing, and Star Coral with her buffs, as in here and here, would be the best healer to use other than all the other healers mentioned earlier. Replacement can be Parfait, but it's not as good because she doesn't have that many buffs in this game mode. And I would say that Pure Vanilla would be the best replacement, as it can cure injury, which may matter as towards the end of the battle, they'll see which team has more percentage health, and the one that has lower will be wiped out. But unfortunately, my Pure Vanilla, which is wow, he's so far down. Yeah, my Pure Vanilla is not even ascended, so I don't really want to use him. Yeah, so I'm going with Star Coral, which is more accessible now since he's in the gacha. White Lily here is our main damage output, and she's also perfect in the team as she has healing which can come in clutch with a team who aims to survive. And lastly, Black Pearl is here not only for her leader skill to further buff White Lily, it also, as I mentioned earlier, provides debuffs and reduce enemy attack. To end off the explanation about these comms, I think with this optimal setup, you are more likely to win the entire battle, as your enemies usually won't be as optimized as you for all three teams. Hence, the appropriate strategy would be to counter one of their strong teams and lose to the other but win the last. Okay, now I'll go into the toppings and biscuits of the cookies here. So this one is very similar to my try DPS video. You need to adjust your damage resist accordingly depending on your promotions, and try to ensure that Golden Cheese dies first and prop the Sacro. For Dark Cacao, we want a 3-second start, focus on damage resist, and have enough cooldown. If you can afford it, go for some damage resist bypass, but most important is damage resist. Golden Cheese, you want full raspberries, some damage resist, and less than 9 point something, is it 10? Basically less than 10% cooldown. You want to focus on damage resist bypass for the biscuit. For Stardust, have a 3-second start, focus on damage resist, and just stack it as much as you can. For Moonlight, you want 5 chocolates, stack damage resist bypass, and have enough cooldown for a 3-second start. I think this is very achievable. And lastly, for Mystic Flower, is our standard 2-second set. Next, for this team, we want a 4-second start Stormbringer, so cooldown is not necessary at all. For the biscuit, focus on damage resist bypass, and Toppings, full apple jellies, with a focus on crit and damage resist. For Financier, it's a 3-second start. You want to focus on damage resist and have sufficient cooldown. For this, it is flexible. You can use either chocolates or almonds depending on your biscuit. As my biscuit is full damage resist, I'm using chocolates. For Seafaring, you want to focus on having 2-second start, which is a main point. So you need, okay, in my previous video it was 51%, but I'm semi-sure that they buffed it and this requirement has lowered to 40-something%. Damage resist, if you can afford it, but focus on having more crit attack, but cooldown is the main thing. Damage resist, I would say, is not the most important, as this team usually deals a lot of damage to the first rotation, so Seafaring surviving wouldn't be a factor in the victory. Next is Frost Queen. You want a 3-second start, so chocolates and full damage resist bypass on the biscuit. Lastly, for Ferret, you want to stack damage resist and enough cooldown for a 3-second start. And for the last team, Coral, you want chocolates and damage resist, and yeah, for me it's not optimal because I have these 2 lines, but I think it's still usable. Her cooldown doesn't really matter that much as she's fixed at 2 seconds, but if you want her to cast more times, then yeah, go for more cooldown. I don't think Almonds is good because she doesn't need that much damage resist with all her innate buffs already. White Lily is our same set. You want to focus on having damage resist and damage resist bypass on the biscuit with running 5 raspberries. For Black Pearl, I like to have a 3-second start, so I use chocolates, and for biscuit, same thing, full damage resist bypass. I've tried using raspberries as well, and I don't think that the difference is that great. Other than the fact that sometimes, if the team is CC'd and Black Pearl is using raspberries, she may not cast at all. So the rotation will be Coral, Snap, White Lily, Black Pearl. But if you use chocolates, it will be usually Coral, then Black Pearl, and then so on and so on. That's why, in the end, I settled for using chocolates with a 3-second start. For Star Coral, you just want to focus on having damage resist and cooldown on your using 5 chocolates so that she has a 3-second start. This is just my AOD set, so but I mean I don't have that many good biscuits. And lastly, for Snapdragon is our standard set. You want to focus on having cooldown. Some attack speed is good, crit and attack. Please don't have any damage resist on Snapdragon, it's a safeguarded cookie. Yeah, so these are the biscuits and toppings. And with that out of the way, all the best for your Mayhem climb, and let's see some of the battles that I've been doing.